Hello and good morning, Win, my friend.
Morning, Adi.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. For those who don't know your full name, your name is Wyndham Swartz, and I'll introduce you as the best operator and salesperson that I ever met in my entire life, actually, and I met a lot of people. And the topic of this conversation today is when talking about sales, what exactly are we talking about? So, Win, please introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about your history, just very briefly, who you are and why I chose you for a sales talk.
Well, my history started many, many years ago. When I left the army, I joined a direct marketing chemical sales company, and the requirements back in those days were to carry a bag, put a product across, entice customers to buy this range of products, and the results were awesome. It fitted my type of personality in the 80s, and it wasn't long before I took to this type of marketing, understanding that it wasn't the soft selling type of sales where you sat behind your desk and waited for customers to come to you. The type of selling that I then understood was direct door knocking type of sales. And I've spent many, many years in that. I've been in other ventures where there's selling required. However, direct marketing is where I found my niche.
Beautiful. I can honestly say that the depth of your ability to be able to deliver what is required is a skill set that, in my opinion, is the ultimate business skill set, the ultimate. So let's go into some of the questions and we'll go from there. So the first question is, the first scenario, I am a new sales manager at a company. I'll walk in on the first day. What do I do?
Well, I think most importantly, one has to have the buy-in of the people that are presently working in that company. Let's just take it back a step. If you're a new sales manager walking into an environment where there's a sales team that is already active in this company, one has to become their friend. One has to understand that you're now dealing with personalities that you now need to tap into individually in order to get the buy-in from the individuals that are presently working at that company. And this is where one has to have a certain set of empathic skills, as well as an influential type of attitude that allows for these people or these salespeople to want to work with you. And that comes with understanding the product, obviously, and the type of marketing and branding that the company is. I know I'm taking it a lot further than just the people and what one should do to get the buy-in, but these are the type of things that are important for a sales manager to understand each individual a person that's in the sales team.
And you're looking for the history up until this point. I think that the word context is absolutely critical. Give me the context. Tell me, what are we currently doing? how has it been up until this point? Where are we getting our product from? Is it a great price? Who are the clients? Are they running away? Are we at the point of a jump and you're scaling, or has there been a disaster and everybody's left and I need to now save the day? So tell me a little bit about, you would go into your office and what information would you ask the executives for? You know, tell me about this. Go ahead. What do you think?
Okay, Adinka. I think what's important, being a new sales manager, if you've been brought into a new environment, I think what's important is that you understand targets, figures, and the expectations of the hierarchy. If we are manufacturers, we need to understand budgets and costs. And with that knowledge, one would then need to individualize each salesperson's role, defining the areas that they are working in to see where improvements could be made, the type of industry that these salespeople are calling on, and obviously identifying consumers, customers, institutions, obviously depending on the products. You know, one can become very specific as to a product and a sales call. But I think what's most important is budgets and expectations and costs that are incurred in the training and the putting across of these products into an industry. I think these are the criteria that I would want to see. Most importantly, budgets.
Interesting. Different angle that I would have taken, you know. That's why I asked you, because we all have our own approach. Budget, I would never ask about budget. I would, you know, so that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm learning. Unbelievable. Okay. Question number 2. Approaching a brand new client. There and then.
I love that.
Talk me through the process.
Okay. I'm going to take steps back here. What I understood before I walked into a customer was the type of industry that represented itself to me. I mean, it would be pointless walking into an environment with a bag full of product, and that environment might not be conducive to the sale I want to make. So it was very important for me as a young salesman to identify that customer. Obviously, it comes with experience as well. And in identifying it, I would understand the needs, the desires of that particular type of industry, and knowing that would allow me to walk in, ask the right questions, ask to speak to the right person, and once meeting them, I would then be able to not waste any time, because I would be able to go to a point that touches his needs and have him listening to me in a very short space of time. Bringing in analogies like you walk into a pet shop and you want to sell them a range of, jewelry. You know, that would be somebody that's not identifying that the pet shop would rather see a range of dog biscuits. You know, so one would rather want to understand who he's calling on, and at the same time know where the problems may be, because the problems generally are pretty universal. And once you understand your product, you can identify the problems, and in turn tap into the right person and into his needs to bring about the interest, because you've only got 30 seconds to make a good impression.
I was just about to ask. So now There's different stages. The first stage is the first 10 seconds.
Correct.
The next stage is, if you get buy-in after the first 10 seconds, you're aiming for the first 3 minutes.
Correct.
And then if you get the buy-in on the 3 minutes, then you try and say what you need to, you say what you need, or you leave. Or so just, what are you thinking in that first? So it's the right person, or it just so happens it's the owner, or it's the marketing manager that you bumped into at a conference. He's the one that does the buying power. You've got 10 seconds. You walk up to him. You've got a new range of dog biscuits. This guy sells for EPOL or whatever, and you want him to now piggyback your product. You've got 10 seconds. What are you thinking in those first 10 seconds he or she wants to hear?
Most importantly, in those 10 seconds is to bring in first prize. What can these biscuits do for the rest of the type of selling you're doing in your shop? Would they be attractive enough? You've only got 10 seconds. And if you haven't tapped in to that aspect of those biscuits being more important than the fish tank that you are now trying to sell, which isn't a huge draw card, biscuits being very important. If you haven't got his attention by the right terminology in why those biscuits should be in his shop, you've lost him. So what are the biscuits all about? It becomes part of something that he can use in order to facilitate walk-ins, bring in customers that incidentally would want to buy a fish tank based on the fact that the biscuits would have been the draw card.
Beautiful. And, like if we're looking at on the phone, the first thing is, look, I know you're very busy. I don't want to waste your time. I'm so-and-so from this company. This is what we do.
100%.
And this is why I think you should be communicating with me. Have you got, this is not going to take on 2 minutes. So it's at that moment where the person, okay, what are they thinking? Okay, yes, I could use your product. Yes, I've bought that kind of stuff before. This makes a lot of sense. I do have 2 minutes. Go ahead. That's your buying right there. So, okay, go ahead. Tell me a little bit more about your product. Okay, well, these biscuits are made like this. So now you have that 2 minutes to give the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is not the first 10 seconds. And I said a new client. I'm not saying an existing client. Okay, so my point is that there's different stages when interacting with people. You need to understand that, and you need to be able to get your absolute fundamentals sorted initially, where you can get the buy-in for the next 2-3 minutes, and then hopefully you've established a bit of a relationship where they now know about you, they know what you do. Thank you very much. Just want to plant my seed in your pocket, and we'll be in touch. And then you have to be meticulous to keep a filing record of who you've chatted to, who the person is, what their contact details are. So because what you're really doing is you're feeding coal into the fire, and it's a numbers game. You're not going to get the sale there and then. You could, but you're not. So that's really what it's about, just the process.
Correct. However, you could get the sale based on breaking the ice. Being different is paramount. Being different is key to getting people's interest. So the original 2 minutes would be that your biscuits are even tasty at human consumption. So ideally, you could have, in those 2 minutes, taken out a biscuit, eaten it in front of the customer, and in that way, you've broken the ice, and you can be guaranteed that on that day, he's going to buy those biscuits. There are those kind of customers. The power of the demonstration overrides any words. Everything about sales is action. And action, rather than words, does the selling. So the type of biscuits that I would walk into a pet shop with would be the type of biscuits that I could eat. That's an icebreaker. Once you've broken that ice, you've got his attention.
This is the kind of car I would drive. I would literally, like, I've got 4 children. As you can see, personally, if you don't buy it, I'm actually probably going to buy it myself. Like, to be honest with you, like, this paint, this paint is actually so good. In fact, it's fireproof. It will last you for 10 years. And to be honest with you, like I'll be the person that will deliver it to you every time you need it. Okay, let's move on. Number 3. How do you get to a point where you become I like this lady, I'm going to make my purchase from her. Well, I like this guy. When I'm going to buy from you. How do you get to that point as a person? Is it about building a network? Is it about dressing a certain way? How do you get to that key point where they like you and they want to buy from you?
Relationships where clients want to buy from you on an ongoing basis are pretty much long distance, Adi. Loyalty to price, loyalty to service, and all the things that surround continuity. Remember, you can do 99 things right as a salesperson, and you do one thing wrong, and the relationship is breached. So one has to always be present and mindful of who you're dealing with. And I think what's important, I personally want to get an order on the first day. That was key for me. If I'm going to make the effort to eat the dog biscuit and to put across the product that I'm putting my heart into and my spirit into, I want an order that day. But I also want the repeat order, breaking the ice by eating the biscuit as per se, shocking them to say, my God, I also want to taste it, is just the beginning. The relationship then becomes interpersonal. You now know if they play sport. You now bring in your likes, the family, how many kids, and the relationship becomes built no longer about the biscuit and the fact that you ate it. It now becomes very, very personal. Your clients end up becoming your friends. And with that, you get loyalty, Adi, and sometimes that overrides the price. That can even override that lack of service and the odd breach where he needs it today and you can only deliver it next week. The fact that you've become friends, I think, is key, because the product now becomes peripheral. Your friendship is what is selling the product moving forward.
Ultimately, I agree with you, because I think ultimately one needs to respect the client and who they are in their business. They are somebody who also has ambitions. They are somebody who there's a lot of responsibility on them to have good product, good service, good delivery. They have stakeholders that they are reporting to. So if you can understand that and say, for us, quality of delivery is the most important thing. Consistency of delivery is the most important thing. The ability for you to phone me at 10 o'clock at night and you know that I cannot sleep. I can't sleep because you need something and I want to get it to you. So it's really about the love and the respect that client doesn't want to get let down. They want you to just make them look good.
I hear you. I hear you, Adi. We're not living in a perfect world. Things happen, and one has to always have that foundation built on loyalty and the treatment that you've put across over an extended period of time, because shit happens, Adi. We make mistakes. However, you're quite correct. You want, as a client, you want the consistency. You want to know if I phone Adi at 10 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock the next morning, if I need my order, Adi will put it into his car and he will come and drop off that order. That in itself builds a relationship that is unbreakable, you know. So as long as
and when you rock up and you say, here it is. Sorry, yes, I had to come so early. They'll be like, I like you. Like, I like you, you know. Beautiful. Okay. Number 4. To be, and I just want to also recalibrate here. To be quite honest with you, I hated the fact that I became a salesperson.
Why?
Because I wanted that finance job. I wanted that university degree. I wanted the lavish behind the desk, what I didn't want to do is knock on doors. And I can tell you now, I have knocked on hundreds of thousands of doors, whether it's phone calls or, and all I can say is I almost hate the word sales, because there's a certain like stigma where business owners don't, and that I actually want to go to question number 6. We're not going to answer it, but I want to pitch it. Be careful who you bring in as a sales manager, because they will become your biggest competition. And what we're talking about here is a CEO that doesn't respect the salesperson, or how important the salesperson is. The sales team, they are everything. No sales, you got nothing. I say, oh, bring me a sales team. They will sell. Why aren't they hitting targets? Well, I can tell you something. You should be your own salesperson, because if they do a brilliant job and you let them know about your IP, your intellectual property, give it 3 or 4 or 5 years, and I promise you now, they will leave. They know your industry. They know your suppliers. They know your costing. They will obliterate you. So it's very important that you, like, if you don't understand that, you will get obliterated. So that's what I'm saying. It's important as to who you bring in, because the salesperson is the business. Okay, so let's go.
I fully agree. Fully agree.
Now, I was very careful in my last business not to bring somebody in, teach them how the industry works, who the people are in the industry, because I knew that I was going to eventually move on from that business, going to do something bigger. I promise you now, if I brought somebody in and I trained them up to do what I could do, I have the biggest headache of my life on my hands, which I don't. Okay, because I respected.
I think it's nice, to keep things close to you also doesn't allow you to grow. So there's 2 sides to it. You can develop salespeople who could be your competition. They could be your competition, or if you look after them in a way that they understand they cannot do better outside of that. I mean, there are those that are always going to want to do better. But if you look after your sales team in a way that it makes it impossible for them to want to leave. That's ideal. But you do create your opposition by training your salespeople into an industry that they understand.
It's a tricky balance. Okay, so number 4, unfortunately, as I said, the time just flies. Number 4, to be a brilliant salesperson, you need to understand and master the following. I wanted your take on this. Door-to-door sales, house-to-house, company-to-company, telesales, online marketing, public relations and publishing, getting stuff into magazines, and social media marketing, boardroom and conference presentations. The truth is the old way of sales is, I see people, their sales strategy is advertising on like LinkedIn or Facebook. Like that's their big strategy. Like, I'm just going to spam you with advertising. Even worse, email marketing. Like, I'm disgusted. Like, that's your strategy? Like why don't you get to a point where you speak at conferences? That's problem. So my point is, what is your take on the different levels, the different types? The world of sales is not just one-on-one, It's really about I want this business to grow. In order for this business to get to a point where it's pumping, there's a lot of different elements here.
Adi, I hear you, and I'm going to bring in the current world situation. I'm of the firm belief that our brick and mortar type of selling, your malls, the companies that are selling out of shops, retail shops, I believe that things could change to an e-commerce perspective, sort of like Amazon. Amazon owned no property. Amazon was all e-commerce, online, social media, which I'm not au fait with. I need to be honest. I'm in it at the moment and I'm trying to learn, but that interaction one-on-one or one-on-two is where I base my skills. But I am learning because one has to always move forward with the times. Amazon recently got involved in bricks and mortar based on the fact that they need to also show their stuff as opposed to only being online. People want to touch. People want to feel. People want a demonstration. And sometimes being online and demonstrating doesn't have that same personal impact on someone as opposed to physically being in front of someone and doing a demo, hence the dog biscuits. If you watched somebody eating a dog biscuit online, you might say to yourself, that's not the real dog biscuit. I want to see it face to face coming out of the box. So there's a lot of people that are negative, because of how the world is. So online, social media, that's quite new, but I believe it's going to be the thing based on our current situation. The retail prices of owning a shop or a business have become too much. The type of movement and the type of feet that are required to facilitate the rent that this guy has to pay. Let's bring in Sandton City as an example of, 1,000 Rand, 1,500 Rand a square meter. How do landlords get paid if there are no feet? I'm talking about in current times. Can these people take those products that they've now got in Sandton City and go via social media, go via e-commerce? Yes, most of them can. So things are going to change, Adi, but personally speaking, I like the one-on-one. I like the bag. I like the knocking on doors. I like that personal interaction where somebody can look at me and say, Wyn, you're brilliant, or you're talking a whole lot of shit. I like it that way because it brings in something else. It brings in a dynamic that e-commerce cannot bring in. But then I'm old school, Adi.
When I want to know, I'm going to ask you the question and I'm telling you my experience. The first time you ever had a job. Now, mine was, I was 10 years old. I was pushing trolleys at the Pick and Pay. That was my first job. So, it was, at the checkout counter, excuse me, ma'am, can I push your trolley to your car? I'll pack your trolley, I'll push it to your car. And if you were lucky, you got 20 cents or 50 cents. I think the one time someone gave me 5 cents. I never said it to them, but I should have said, I think you need this money more than I do. But I didn't. I always hoped that I should have said it. And then I progressed to working at the flea markets where you're selling TV games. And I'll never forget my uncle Sydney. Sydney, God bless your soul. He's passed on. He was a traveling salesman. And I think at the age of he took me on a road trip. We had bags, he sold tog bags, and he sold shoes, I think. And he took belts and tog bags, and he took me on a road trip. Walking in with a briefcase, with a suitcase, a few suitcases, showing the product to the different clients, and the traveling salesman. So it's like What an unbelievable, I'm so lucky that I got that opportunity
Love
to
those
understand
old
it.
dogs. Love them. It's a specialist character that can do that. It's so special and it's so underrated in the world we've lived in. That sort of personality, wow, that's character, Adi.
Character, I love it. When I was even thinking of doing 2 sessions because I knew that we could literally just carry on forever. So I just want to thank you. Told you you'd
Thank
enjoy
you.
this conversation. And,
I loved it. I remember training you. I remember your dogmatic bulldog attitude. You got courage, boy.
Where I walked into the biggest stadium in Johannesburg. You say, go sell this product. I walked into the biggest stadium in the country and I got an order.
I remember, Adi. Tenacity.
Bravery.
That's character, bud. That's character.
Win. Love you, buddy.
Love you, bud. Love you.
Win. Cheers.
Take care, my boy.
Bye.